Hello fellow Star Wars fans, it is Starrapter here and this is another episode of This Week in Star Wars Canon. Now every week I tell you guys about all the latest in the Star Wars continuity, ranging from the TV series, to the novels, to the comic books, to the video games. And with this week it brought us another new episode of Star Wars Rebels titled Homecoming. So if you haven't watched the episode yet, make sure you do because I will be talking spoilers. So, what did I think of Homecoming? I thought it was a great episode. So the story goes, as usual, the rebels are constantly getting beaten down by the Empire and yet again have to find more forces to bolster up their rebel force. So Hera has an idea. She contacts her father, Shamsandula, who leads a resistance force on the planet of Ryloth. So the rebels get involved with Shamsandula and his forces, and the rebels agree to help Shamsandula's planet Ryloth, which currently is occupied by the Empire and has pretty much ever been since the Clone Wars. And Sham mentions that they do have a huge carrier that is occupying the atmosphere. So Sham would like to destroy the carrier to make an example for the people on the surface of Ryloth, whereas Hera and the rebels kind of need every ship they can get, so they actually want to commandeer this carrier and use it for their own forces. So there is a conflict between both these parties here. So what happens? They devise a plan where the rebels, along with Sham, will sneak aboard a commandeered TIE bomber to get into the freighter, and then they'll do what they got to do from there. But unfortunately, Shamsandula double crosses the rebels and locks them on the ship. But they do, in the end, reach an agreement thanks to Hera, who has a very inspirational speech to the people of Shamsandula and the rebels, and they all agree to actually commandeer the ship rather than destroy it. So this episode, things I really liked about the episode. First of all, Shamsandula. I love this character in the Clone Wars, and he actually has a book that came out quite recently, Lords of the Sith, which pits Shamsandula on Ryloth again against Vader and the Emperor. So it's really cool seeing Sham back in action and all the references he does make about the Clone Wars, and I think Harry even talks about Lords of the Sith, the events in that a little bit. Also, speaking of Shamsandula and Hera, their relationship here, I really, really dig it. Common theme this season is they are exploring more of the backgrounds of the characters, and Hera, we hear how she was inspired by Shamsandula being like the leader of the resistance on Ryloth, but the differences between them is Sham only cares about his people on Ryloth, whereas Hera cares about the entire galaxy as a whole. So that's kind of why we find out Hera leaves her father, because she wanted to help the galaxy as a whole, where he was just obsessed with his people. Another thing I really enjoyed about this episode are the different kind of ships. Ever since this season started, they've been introducing old legend stuff and kind of bringing it into canon. So the first thing that was noticeable for me was the carrier that the Empire now has. That was over Ryloth. I actually believe I had a micro machine of that. That was something from the EU. I think during like Thrawn or something like that. I really love the design. And they also brought in, when Sham came to their transport, he actually was using like a repurposed Republic gunship from the Clone Wars era. So I really dig how they were bringing back that as well. Not to mention how cool the TIE bombers were in this episode. I mean, we've really never seen TIE bombers quite like this. I mean, we've only seen them in Empire just bombing up that asteroid with the Exogorth in it. So it was really cool seeing them actually doing a little bit more. So also, we've seen more cool Jedi moments with Ezra and Canon, especially like the one moment where they're running through the hallways and the blast doors are slowly getting smaller, and you see I think it's Canon that kind of, or as I forget which one, gives somebody a boost and they go flying through the doors and just like slicing their lightsabers through the doors. That was really cool. And speaking of Ezra, he continually is getting more and more powerful with the Force. I mean, now we're seeing him using Jedi mind tricks for pretty much the first time in his life, successfully doing it. and pretty much in turn making the entire ship evacuate. Yeah, I thought that was a little far-fetched how every single person left the ship. You'd think that there might be somebody that would, still stay on board or something, but he made it work somehow. And finally, what this episode did was it told us that the rebels are slowly getting bolstered with their forces. We've seen with the Leia episode, them getting those older style hammerhead ships, and now with this, they have a full carrier which can hold all their A-wings and everything. That's so cool. I really like the idea of we're seeing the evolution of how the rebellion is becoming a bigger thing. But there were some negatives in this episode. First of all, that one scene where Hera is speaking with her father alone. She out of the blue just starts speaking with a French accent. I thought that was a little bit off-putting. I know that the Twi'leks in Clone Wars and Star Wars in general usually have French accents, but she never has really spoken in one. So why she would say one sentence to her father, it just doesn't really make sense to me. Also, something that was almost kind of like a plot hole. So when the rebels were in a TIE bomber along with Sham Syndulla, they enter the carrier, and then they get double crossed by Sham, who locks them all up with handcuffs. But doesn't Sham think to turn off Chopper? Because I mean, it's Chopper just basically wakes up and zaps off the handcuffs, and the rebels get free. Like you think he would have put two and two together and just said, "Oh, protocol droids, they have a ton of tools. They could easily, get the rebel." He should have just turned off Chopper. But anyway. And finally, this isn't for this episode specific, but rather for the entire season as a whole. Is they keep like teasing like us with these really cool planets, but we never actually see the surface of the planets. Like kind of what happened with Legends of Lasat. We know of Zeb's homeworld, and we know he goes there and comes back, and it's like it's probably a budget thing, but I would have loved to see Ryloth, see what happens since Clone Wars. Um, but yeah, that is what I thought about Rebels. I really enjoyed this episode. So what do you guys think? Make sure you comment down in the comment section below. But that wasn't all we had this week in Star Wars canon. We also had Star Wars number 16. I actually really like this cover. There's actually the cover is actually drawn by Dodson, who was the artist on the Princess Leia series. I think it works great for Star Wars. But he only did the cover. There was another artist that actually did the interior, which I'll talk about later. So what has happened in Star Wars? So number 16 starts off a new arc, the Rebel jail. And what happens is, since the Vader Down crossover series ended, the Rebels, Leia, Han, Luke, they captured Vader's informant, spy, whatever you want to call her, Dr. Aphra. So this basic issue is showing them transporting, which means Leia and Sana Sola or Sana, whatever her last name is now, I forget. They're transferring her to a top secret rebel prison, and when they get to the prison, things go wrong, and there's these unknown forces that are doing a prison break to get Dr. Aphra out. In the meantime, Han and Luke are it's not even clear in this issue what they're doing. All I know is they're on a planet, and the usual Han is doing his smuggling ways, and he's playing sabacc, and he's using the rebellion's funds to try to double his money, and of course he's scamming a guy. So him and Luke have to hightail it out of there, and that's all their storyline really was. But so that was basically issue number 16. Some positives. The space prison's really cool. It's basically like right by a star, so it's a good kind of protective, defensive place to put a prison, because there's like really only like one way to get to you. You're protected from behind. So it's a cool type idea, the space prison, and also the prison break storyline as a whole. I think it'll be a really exciting story arc with a lot of action for sure. Some things I didn't like about this. First of all, the art to me is a little shocking. for some reason, they like to change up the artists on the Star Wars main line. I think they've had like 4 different artists already, or this, this could be the fifth or something. But the new artist, his name's Yu. They use a lot of really simple kind of art in this, and I'm just not really a big fan of it. It kind of looks a little muddied. Um, but whatever, maybe it could get better as the arc goes on. And another thing that really irritated me was there's not enough Luke and Han. I think there was like 2 pages of like Luke and Han, and the rest of the story was just about Leia, Sana, and Afra. I think there was just way too much taken up by the female characters in this one for sure. But that is what I thought about Star Wars number 16. So have you guys been reading the Star Wars comics? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up symbol. And if you like the video, you might want to subscribe to my channel where you'll find more videos such as my recent review of Star Wars Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir. Guys, make sure you like my page on Facebook at Starrapter, as well as follow me on Twitter at Starrapter. And may the force be with you. Bye, guys.